11 o'clock hour. But first at 9:41, we meet every Monday with Julie West, President for Parents for Truth in Education. Hail to our chief, Mamma Mia. She keeps an eye on all the chaos and things that are education in our state. She is the Cliff's Notes of threats to our children. Julie, good morning.
Good morning, Michael, and there's so much going on. It's sort of like
focus. Shall we start in the bathroom?
Let's start in the bathroom.
This is where we've gotten culturally in America today. You can't look down at your groin area and figure out if you're a boy or a girl or the appropriate room to relieve yourself. So let's take it from there.
Well, it's interesting. David Fowler has a great bill that is being voted on this week, and really all it says is the stick figures are right. You know, that if you match up with the stick figure on the bathroom door, that's the one you need to use. You need to use your biologically correct bathroom in schools.
As you know, David Fowler is with the Family Action Council of Tennessee. He is our original headmaster and professor for WTN University, and one heck of an American and a dear friend. I don't want to get into, what the American Journal of Psychiatrics says or so on and so forth. There's obviously a politically correct cultural movement today that is wanting to validate those with gender issues, all right? Just take it and put it aside for a minute. Whether you think you're transgendered, whether you're a boy and think you're a girl, whether you're a girl and think you're a boy, if you have a vagina, go to the vagina room. If you have a penis, go to the penis room. It's really that simple, and I don't think it has to be politically incorrect, quite frankly, either.
Well, and here's the thing that was jumping out at me when I was reading about where this legislation stands, and according to the reports that are out there, the Tennessee Department of Ed is opposing the legislation because they believe in local control. They believe that local districts should be able to do whatever.
So where the hell were they on Common Core and other issues? That sounds convenient to me.
Or where were they on this issue? What suddenly changed? Because it wasn't that long ago, Michael, that you and I were talking about a letter that they sent, that the Tennessee Department of Ed sent through the Office of Civil Rights and their compliance officer to Warren County, basically informing them that, you know what, you don't even have the right to build a separate bathroom for the gender-confused students. You don't have the right to require them to wait until other students are done using the showers of with the restroom or locker room that they identify with. They get to be in there with everyone else, and at no point were the concerns of parents or other students' rights factored into this decision.
Or the marching ideal that it's a local decision.
Right. So at what point did the Department of Ed and Candace McQueen suddenly say, you know what, this is going to be a local control issue because since this issue first bubbled up months ago, it's been them forcing their agenda down the throats of school districts just trying to maintain some control. So at the very least, even put the issue of the bathroom aside, once again we have clear evidence that the Commissioner of Education and her office is willing to be less than honest when communicating with the General Assembly of Tennessee, and it's a fine reason that we need to have elected commissioners.
It's amazing to me. At some point, call for a freaking verdict. I mean, we have these conversations every week, and they all point to the same solution. But you're right to bring it up. The left wants to make education a social experiment, an indoctrination, a socialization. They're getting further and further away from reading, writing, arithmetic, civics, geography, history. It's becoming so much more indoctrination than education. We all get that. The reality is that the left believes, by the way, that the children don't belong to the parents, they belong to the community. Really, you have to almost go all the way back to the basics. Who do these kids belong to? I know there's a lot of bad parents out there and non-existing parents out there, but the majority are still married and still involved in their children's lives. And so, what we see is from this particular governor and in our particular state where you have a Republican governor, a super duper Republican majority in the Senate and House, that the right can play sneaky and basically be pitching the same things as the left, and it just needs to stop. All right, so that's an absolute nightmare. And by the way, without the endorsement or with the fighting of the Department of Education and the unions and the influences of unions, how difficult is this sensible bill? Got a penis, go to the men's room, go to the men's shower. Got a vagina, go to the girls' room, go to the girls' shower. What are the likelihoods that something so freaking obvious can't happen without their support?
It can't. I mean, things that ought to be absolutely obvious to everyone, even kids who are too young to understand really gender and all that goes with it, understand, well, that's a boy and I'm a girl, and so I go over here and he goes over there. They get it. Well, and for some reason, people with doctorates can't. Yeah,
if we can't figure out what bathroom to go to, I can't imagine how bad we don't get the Second Amendment. But let's go to the carry issue.
Oh, okay. So, issue at MTSU, and for that matter, college campuses across the state. Now, keep in mind, we've got campuses across the nation where people with a concealed carry permit walk around, and you know what? People aren't dying in the streets every day. Representative Holt, I understand, has a piece of legislation that simply says, you know what, if you've passed the background check, if you've taken the test, if you've got a carry permit, and and you've got to be on campus, or you want to be on campus, guess what? Your Second Amendment rights still apply. And let's think about this. We've got university campuses in Tennessee that are larger than many of our small towns, and they don't have really any substantial number of small children there. So you're saying we don't trust adults past a background check who've taken a test. We don't even trust them to exercise their Second Amendment right. So Representative Holt, I believe, has legislation that would say, you know what, you can carry on campus. And there's a group at MTSU that is offering alternative legislation that would, I guess, block people from carrying on campus. Basically, from my understanding, for the emotional well-being of students, because we don't want it to be a hostile environment. We don't want to look like a war zone. Well, if it's concealed carry anyway, how's anybody going to know? I mean, really, Michael, who knows when you're packing, when I'm packing, when your wife is packing? I mean, and by the way, if I've already paid the money, if I've already passed the background check, who is anyone at MTSU or any other university in this state to say, by the way, the Bill of Rights doesn't apply to you because we decided?
Invasion of social workers, by the way, if it's Julie West, she's always packing. Julie West, Parents for Truth president, joining us on WTN for our weekly visit. Let's get to the new budget year and the proposed addition of social workers everywhere.
Well, they want to add more social workers, especially in Williamson County schools but let's face it, we've got the same thing replicating across the state, because the agenda is let's grow government, let's increase debt. I mean, if you look at what's happening, you can't come to any other conclusion. And there is a move to return, they would say, the school to the center of the community. Well, newsflash, 100 years ago, it wasn't the schoolhouse that was the center of the community. It was the church, and it just so happened that frequently they used the same building. But there's this move to get more and more social workers. We've got dentists, we've got pediatricians going into schools. But with the social worker thing, it's especially concerning in our county, because when you want a clear delineation of what's going on financially and what we're looking at budget-wise, and by the way, who reports to whom, and do these answer to locals? Are they a federal mandate? Do they come in from the state?
No, I mean, I think, by the way, let me just state for everybody, what she's talking about is legitimate budget and then legitimate organizational chart. Like, who are these people reporting to? And we need to know that. I mean, somebody's got to be responsible for them, because sooner or later somebody's going to do something, and then who do we turn to?
Right, and by the way, who's on the hook for the lawsuit that will follow? It's one of the things where we've got to look at who answers to whom, and by the way, how far away from parents are we?
Are these new positions?
Yes.
All right, so if you're going to introduce a new position, we wouldn't create a new position in this company without it appearing on an organizational flow chart. So this person, whoever it is that is hired, whether or not you want to argue whether that should be a budgetary item and an investment made, we've got to be able to see who they are, what they're going to do, who they're going to report to. We're not getting any of that?
No, and in fact, if we look at what's happening with the Williamson County Commission, we talked about Williamson Inc. Receiving what we thought at the time was roughly $600,000 to basically provide services for the county. Well, now it appears that it's $1 million, and it's a group that is openly hostile to conservatives in government in Tennessee, and or at least in Williamson County. They're all about Williamson Inc. has said we need to protect Mike Looney. We need to go ahead and make sure that we get school board members that are flowing with that line of thinking.
Williamson Inc. is to Williamson Strong what, we could do any kind of analogy. The way they're renamed it, Ready Tennessee is to Common Cause.
Right, and so we've got this issue going on, but ultimately what we're looking at, just like happened in Sumner County, when you're spending $1 million here, when you're spending several $100,000 there, whether it's on marketing the county or adding new positions, we're looking at tax increases. We're looking at redistribution of wealth. That ultimately is what this is about. It's about moving control from of your children away from the household to the government, and we're looking at moving the control of your own dollars away from what you want and towards what some quasi-socialist organization wants. And if people don't understand, if your county commissioner doesn't understand that sending $1 million to what amounts to an outside organization, somebody has to pay for it somewhere. Somebody has to, and
it'll be the very taxpayers to whom they're taking from to give to others. We only have 60 seconds left, and I wanted to get in the testing portion too. So do a 60-second version of SAT, ACT, because that testing begins this week. As a matter of fact, as does TN Ready.
We've got the SAT and the ACT that are aligned with Common Core. Beta testing nationwide across America. We have what's called the Vector Assessment Readiness for College. It is not aligned with Common Core, and it's designed to preserve academic freedom in America.
But apparently it's not a choice, is it?
Well, no. But if people want to find out about that test, you can look at it. You can register for it at greathomeschoolconventions.com, and you don't have to be a homeschooler to participate.
But it's looking more and more every day like you got to be a homeschooler if you're going to avoid all this nonsense. Julie West, Parents for Truth and Education. You can find her on Facebook or tweet her at
Julie, the number 4, Truth.
Talk to you next Monday or sooner if conditions warrant. Sorry, so rushed. 9:54. I'm Michael Delgiorno, and I know a lot of you